Welcome to the Square One Talks. I am Shoaib Ibadi, Square One World Media Director. Since February 24th, the world has changed. That date, Ukraine was invaded, and since then, there are a lot of challenges. The war is going on in Ukraine. If some of you don't know about this country named Ukraine, it's good to search Google or Wikipedia. But when I searched this morning, the population of Ukraine is around 44 million people, estimated 2020. And also Ukraine, interesting that the second largest country in Europe after Russia, the second largest country in Europe after Russia. And there are a lot of evangelical Christians, Protestants, but the main religion is Ukrainian Orthodox, and also some Catholics there, and other denominations as well. Square One World Media has a long history of working in Ukraine through a radio program, and we have great partners, Chernomors, that they are now there. And actually, we planned this interview for a long time. We hope that Nikolai and Natalia, they both can come, and also their son will come here, that we can talk, and I can interview all of them. But could you imagine, we are here in Netherlands, 2,000 kilometers from Kiev. 2,000 kilometers from Kiev. We are here drinking tea. Everything is peaceful. I'm going to interview Natalia. But 2,000 kilometers away, the war is going on. People are getting killed. Elderly people are getting killed. Children are getting killed. And women getting raped. It's a war in Europe. By the way, it's in Europe in 21st century, in 2022. And that's devastating. It is devastating. And I am blessed to hear that Natalia Chernomor is here. She is with her husband, Nikolai, and also her son. They are serving as our partners, ministry partner, Square One World Media ministry partners in Ukraine, in Zolty Vody. Natalia, welcome to Square One Talks.
Добрий день.
It's good to see you, and also Yulia, your daughter came here to translate. We thank her as well. And my first question to you is, please tell us a little bit about yourself and your involvement with the Square One World Media, your life, faith journey, and radio ministry with the Square One.
Співпраця з Square One – це взагалі щось надзвичайне. 25 років разом.
Partnership with Square One is something extraordinary. 25 years together. There are very few such examples when Christian organizations interact with foreign ones in the post-Soviet countries. And we are that exception. You have supported us for such a long time, and for that, we want to say thank you very much. Thanks to you, we can do very important work in our country. At first, media ministry was not a priority for me, because in general, it is more natural for me to interact with live audience and not with a microphone in front of you. But the time has come and I made this choice, and I'm very happy because over the years we have seen what a great blessing it is and how God uses it. If you describe this ministry in 3 words, I would say it is development, impact, and opportunities. Well, for me and my type of personality, these are such important things. Helping people to succeed in life, find themselves, find God, build healthy relationship in marriage. This is my passion. And times have changed, technologies, projects, everything has changed. But this passion has remained. And I think it's because it's a true calling. What also is important for me is that this ministry has become a great blessing for our whole family. We prayed to do this work together with my husband and children. And even when they were still babies and were just first started talking, they already participated in some of the recordings. And when they became adults, even when they lived in different countries, they still were a part of this ministry, and it's very valuable.
Thank you, Natalia. You do great programs. It's called Pro Relationship, about marriage, about love, and about biblical perspective to marriage. That's great programs. And also your son, Andre, he does for youth, great Instagram videos. We appreciate your partnership and ministry with us. I visited Ukraine and your place, your home. You cooked us a good Ukrainian food there in 2017. You had, in that time, you had some challenges, but it was peaceful. It was peaceful. The kids can go peacefully to school. People all had a peaceful life. How you and your family cope with war in Ukraine? How you get used to constant threats, going to shelter? You mentioned that, like in the evening, you have to go to the shelter, or a possible attack from the sky and missiles shelling within 300, 400 kilometers from a border with Russia. How you describe what is happening as you live from day to day, as you live from minute to minute?
Так, це абсолютно новий спосіб життя.
This is an absolutely new reality of life. Although we did not want to believe that there would be a war, but everything was leading to that. And I cannot say that it was something unexpected, like a sudden storm, and it surprised all of us. But what was unexpected, how it started, that in one moment, just during the first day, 160 rockets and bombs were dropped on Ukraine. No one expected that they will attack us from Belarus, that on the second day of war, on February 25th, their tanks will already be in one of the districts of Kiev. No one expected this, so the first moments were so much uncertainty. You don't know what to expect. It was very scary. I found out that the war had started when my daughter Yulia called me and said, "You are being bombed." And now we were just talking and remembering what did we do on the first day of war. So I remember packing all of the documents, a suitcase, and then next I went to the studio and started downloading all our projects, programs to Google Drive, because we did not know whether our studio would be still there, whether the equipment would be saved. I uploaded all of this to Google Drive and gave access to Yulia so that if anything happens to us, all of our work is safe. I remember that day. Everything was unclear. There were air raid sirens from the first day. We hid in the bomb shelter. We even spent the nights there. I remember how cold it was. Eventually, we stopped reacting to these air raid sirens the same way. And just a few days ago, we had 12 air raid alarms. And one day, I somehow emotionally calmly tolerated, but there are a lot of people who cannot stand it anymore. And there are children who were in Ukraine for a certain time and then became refugees abroad, and now they're very sensitive to any loud sounds. And this is just one example of the consequences we will have to deal with and heal from. When did I realize that the war had started for us personally? I think it was when our close people from our circle left, and then we realized that our usual world began to crumble. It was no longer the same. Although the war was going on, we understood it, we were in it around the clock. And the second time, it was when we buried soldiers from Zhovty Vody. And then we realized that the war is in our house, it's on our street, it's in our city. We are grateful to God how He uses our connections, maybe even reputation that we've built during this time. We are very grateful to everyone who helped us from the very first day of war, so we could serve our community. It is simply incredible how many people wrote to us, called us, said, "We're praying for you, send donations, including you as our partners." And it is very valuable that we're able to use these funds for humanitarian needs, because for many, the world has collapsed and people are left with nothing.
Yeah. Tell us one question, it's, if Yulia can translate to you. Tell us a schedule of one of your days. How, when you wake up in the morning, what is your schedule until you go to sleep? What's it look like?
З першого дня війни у нас
Since the war started, you don't know what day of the week it is, what month it is. We don't say Monday, we say the first day of war, the second day of war, and so on. Because on the one hand, you're constantly in the news, and it's just great how our country has organized access to information. But on the other hand, you're constantly seeking solutions to urgent needs that came up at the moment. And they change every time. I can probably highlight at least 5 main directions. And just for example, the first was to provide first aid to people who found themselves in a very difficult situation and organize the processes, give people tasks, jobs. Second, we tried to arrange humanitarian aid because we knew that we would have a lot of refugees coming. And currently, there are 5,500 refugees that are officially registered in our city. And every day, they're fed and their needs are met, and we're directly involved in
Did you
this.
say 5,500 refugees?
сорі, ні.
Yes, 5,500 refugees.
Yeah, 5,500 refugees they came. And the whole population of your city is around 50,000.
Ну, зараз набагато менше було
Yeah, it
вже.
used to be like that. Right now, the population of our town is smaller.
What is the impact of war in your life, family, community, and city? What is the impact of war and invasion?
Ну, наша сім'я ще більше
Our
стала
family became even more united. The first time we learned about the war was when Yulia called us from the US. The second call was from our son Andrei, and an hour later, him and his wife were at our house with their suitcases. We had one car to share, so they stayed with us that whole time. We developed a plan. We talked about buying food, what was still needed, and then everyone got very involved and just started looking for ways to help our city to meet the needs. And after that, we moved on to serving people in the hotspots. When we understood that our city life as normal as it can be, if you can even call it a normal life during the war, but all of that made us even more united, and we began to do so much more than usual. It was just like that. You kind of push yourself, and what was amazing to see that God always gave some fresh hope and strength in the morning. During the day, you are emotionally, informationally, and physically exhausted to the point that we could not even sleep. The first few weeks, we slept all dressed in our coats. So, yeah.
Yeah, since February 24, we often talk and meet with you and Andre and talk on through Zoom or through Messenger or WhatsApp. We are in constant contact with you. And we heard that you have been traveling all over Ukraine since the war began and seen so much loss and suffering. You have been to some of the places like Bucha that have made the news in North America because of the extreme violence there. Can you tell us about the people there, about the impact on you and your team as you minister there?
Коли ми повернулися з цієї подорожі,
When we returned from this trip, I was asked what were your impressions, and I just posted one photo, and this photo speaks about everything. You simply could not imagine that something like that was possible, that people are capable of such awful things. It's terrible, but we saw people who survived violence and were left homeless and lost their loved ones, and I saw how strong our people were. It's just incredible and it's impressive. I think when everything is over, we will finally get a chance and time to mourn and to realize the scale of it. One woman said to me that when the majority left and she stayed, she would go feed the dogs of her neighbors. And she says, I go into the backyard and there I see their soldier. He had a big beard. He looks at me out of the window and says, where are you going? And she says, feed the dogs. And he says to her, if you come again, I will shoot you. And she replies to him, I will come again in 3 days. She said that during that whole time she had no fear. The fear came only when the city was liberated. Only after seeing everything, they felt fear. But our people are incredible. We ourselves admire Ukrainian people for that. I did not see bitterness. I saw people who, for example, lost a place to live, and men would take their families away and come back and serve as volunteers. They continue to help others. One guy had a big business. They made wooden world maps. He had workshops in 3 cities of Kyiv region, plus an office of 400 square meters, and all of them were destroyed. Their business lost over $2 million because of this. But he came and serves as a volunteer, and he says, I am happy my family is alive. So the values have changed. We don't need much. During the war, the most important thing is that your family is alive.
Yeah, it is difficult. It is difficult to live in the war. Yeah, yes. The Bible is clear where it says the perfect love casts out all fear. What it means basically that perfect love, loving God and loving neighbor, that loving God and loving neighbor cast out all fear. We all know that Ukrainian people, they are traditionally Orthodox, but there are also many of followers of Jesus that they have a personal relationship with Jesus, or what we call evangelical Christians or Protestant. How they deal with war and invasion in Ukraine? Are they angry? Are they helping others? Are they afraid of losing everything, including their lives and family? How they are dealing with war and invasion in Ukraine?
Християни, церкви, усі деномінації теж показали надзвичайну...
Christians in churches of all denominations demonstrated great unity, sacrifice, their readiness to serve. All the churches and hotspots became shelters. They were helping evacuate people under shelling, fed people. We are the first place that borders with the East, so we became a hub that provided help to the front lines in the East. So Christians have done amazing things, and praise God for that. When it comes to feelings, we felt anger. We talked a lot about our feelings of anger and hatred, because what else can we feel when babies are raped, when a column of peaceful civilians that are trying to evacuate is shot, when there were agreements about green corridors, but they just shot people. When the missile hits an object and emergency services are trying to get to those people under rumble, but Russians don't let them. All of these things are causing us to be angry. We talk about it a lot, and we do understand that this anger should not lead to evil, but we feel it. On the other hand, we are not evil. Prisoners of war are treated nicely by our soldiers. I think that humanity is a word that characterizes Ukraine, starting with our president, churches, and all people. We don't wish all the bad things for Russians, and this is what our president says and people say as well. We just want them to leave our land. We don't need or want anything from them. We don't even want revenge. And of course, a lot of humor. And it really helps because as we live through some unimaginable situations, it helps when you can make a joke and laugh at yourself in the circumstances. And this is the strength of our mind and spirit.
Yes, again, we are thankful for Bible. Bible is a guidance for us, that it's help us in our real life. And one thing that I learned about Christianity, that Christianity helps us in real life. We don't pretend. It's real life from our heart. And in the Bible, in Ephesians, it says that we are not fighting flesh and blood, but the principality of darkness kingdom. And this is exactly what people of Ukraine now fighting. They are fighting against the principality of darkness kingdom. And I grew up, you know that I grew up in Afghanistan. People of Afghanistan, they experienced 2 generations of violence, war, grief, and instability. You know that from when the war started, I started praying, and we started in different ways how we can support and help Ukraine. And I do not want anyone to experience what I experienced. And is there a hope for people of Ukraine? Is there a hope in the midst of war?
Ну, взагалі, ми іще не усвідомлюємо глибоко всі наслідки, з якими
We don't necessarily realize all the consequences that we will have to face as a result of this war. There are a lot of direct and indirect ones. First of all the soldiers that were fighting on the front lines. Also, the fact that families are separated. Almost all of the families with children are separated. A lot of women with kids had to flee to Europe. Men stayed here in Ukraine. And this will have certain consequences, and we will have to work with this. A lot of people died. A new wave of orphans. There will be much more disabled and handicapped people. And I think in a way we are in a blocked emotional state and we don't feel the gravity of it all. But when the war is over, I can't imagine what will happen, because then all the emotions will surface and we will have to heal. We have to prepare for it somehow. We need professional help. We need education. And today we need to help Ukraine get those tools and help so we can serve others.
Yes, we have to separate 2 things. Those who killed or harmed others bear the responsibility for their own actions, and they should be brought to justice. That's no question. At the same time, those who have been harmed, like people of Ukraine, like children, like women, like elderly, they need help, healing, and hope. My question to you is, how do you see healing and restoration for the people of Ukraine, or for the people in your own city?
Наша церква і безпосередньо наш Андрій, вони постійно їздять на схід до солдат.
Our church and our own son Andriy constantly go to the east to visit soldiers starting from 2014. They brought some New Testaments, audio versions, and gifted those. We even took pictures for them, and I know at least 10 occasions when those soldiers in the photos that we preached to and prayed for died. There was a time when a woman visited our church after her husband died in the east of Ukraine, and we found out that we served her husband and he was serious about knowing Jesus. And this woman takes comfort that her husband had a chance to meet Jesus before he died. It gives her strength to live and raise their 2 children, and one of them was born a few months after her husband died. That's why Christians have most powerful resource for helping people and bringing hope. And it is important for us to feel that during this battle, we are not left alone, and we feel God's support through your support, through people who are partners of this organization. And non-believers can see God through our service, our prayers, hugs. Word of God is received by them, whether they're soldiers or civilians. In the time that we serve, we didn't face any rejection from people. There were a few who said, thank you, we already have Bibles and we have some help, so maybe others needed more. That's why prayers are crucial, because God is the one who directs and the result depends on Him. The actual support with the word resources that are translated into Ukrainian language, our soldiers are very excited to have their little New Testaments that we received from the mission and give away. People are happily accepting those, so this is very important.
Yes, prayer is a key. When the war in Ukraine started, we started praying in our own office, our colleagues, and also we ask our partners, our donors to pray for Ukraine, and specifically for you and Nikolai and your son. And your son traveled a lot. And he said one of the challenges that you have in your city is that the soldiers who died, that they bring their bodies, and you have to take care of to bury the body and take care of all the funerals. This one challenge, and also you mentioned about the refugees, that you have to help the refugees, give them food and medication and all. That's thank you for doing that. My next question is, what Canadians, follower of Jesus, can do to help people of Ukraine? Like in our city, airplane came, a specifically chartered airplane from Poland came to Winnipeg, and they brought 300 Ukrainian refugees. And my daughter, she was involved in welcoming these refugees, and she was crying. She has welcomed in this women and children. With some of them, they came with dogs and cats. They got to Canada, thank God for that. But still, there are millions inside Ukraine that they experience fear and war every day, every moment. What Canadian follower of Jesus can do to help people of Ukraine?
Насправді ми дуже вдячні всім країнам, які прийняли наших біженців.
We are really grateful to all the countries who accepted our refugees. It is over 7.5 million women and children that needed to be cared for, who don't have a job or a place to live. We are amazed at all the help we receive. Love and care, free schools, food. We could never imagine that the whole world will become home for Ukrainians, like a real parents' house, and we're very grateful to Canada for their help.
І ми за це дуже вдячні Канаді.
As I mentioned to you that I saw war and violence in my life for decades. And basically I grew up in a country where war and violence was just a regular way of life. But anyone who has not experienced war cannot possibly understand the extreme suffering you and your people are experiencing now. We all know that evangelical Christians, their favorite word is forgiveness. To ask you to speak about forgiveness at such a time, sometimes it might feel offensive or hurtful. And yet, as follower of Jesus, we are taught to forgive. We are taught to forgive. Forgiveness is not an option. It is a command. Not so that others can get away with doing horrible things. Forgiveness does not mean that someone who hurt. In the beginning I said that anyone who hurt or killed or harmed, they have to bear responsibility and bring to justice. That's what we believe. But in the same time, how we can be set free from those horrible things? I am someone who has also lived through war, and my country of birth is also a great conflict. As a Christian, I would like to use 3 words to talk about forgiveness. One, it's forgiveness is a command from Jesus. Number 2, it's a choice. We choose to forgive. And number 3, forgiveness is a process. It doesn't come suddenly. It's a process. People, they go through the war, through the violence, through the unforgiveness, and they come to forgiveness. My question to you is, what would you say to people of Ukraine about freedom and forgiveness in this difficult and horrible time?
Насправді це надскладна тема зараз, і вона може навіть дратувати, коли її піднімають.
It is an extremely difficult topic right now, and it can even be annoying to people when this topic is being discussed. I think because it is not the time for it. The Bible says that there's time for everything. Now, as we are in a position of a victim that's being killed, raped, destroyed, and some believers from other countries come to you and say, you have to forgive your enemy. They don't take into consideration the abuser. First thing we need to do is to get rid of the abuser and then talk about forgiveness. Yes, we believe the Bible and forgiveness is an extremely important part of our life that is necessary, but not in the time when we are in the middle of the war. That's why this will be something we will have to work on. And like you said, this is not something that will happen right away. This might take a generation or decades, because the way Russia is acting in this war, when they are evil and the goal is to destroy Ukrainians as a nation, they don't want us to exist. You cannot accept it with love. Of course, for Christians, it will be a little bit easier, and for non-believers, it could be a reason to look for God to be able to forgive one day. Because every mature person understands that living with unforgiveness can destroy you, and you have to forgive. I faced this issue when working with families, when they said, I want to forgive, but I can't. And then we talked to them about how it is impossible to do it with your own strength, but God can help you with this.
Yes, we all agree that forgiveness is command, forgiveness is a choice, and you choose to forgive, and also forgiveness is a process. It doesn't come just an hour or a day or a month. It's a process. For some people it takes longer, for some people it takes shorter time. But thank you very much, Natalia. I would like now to introduce to our audience her daughter, Yulia. She is a great helper. She translated everything, and welcome to our show, Yulia.
Thank you for having me.
You were engaged, and you had your wedding in the United States. You live now in the United States, and my question to you is how the war invasion in Ukraine impacted your life in the United States.
Well, when the war started, I was in the United States, and I remember the day I called my mom and I had to tell her that the war started. And then like a lot of people, we were there across the ocean, and you just felt helpless. You want to help, but you're not there. And your first or immediate response, like a lot of Ukrainian men that lived outside of the country, in the first 4 days, they just dropped their lives and went back. That was something that I thought I needed to do. I thought I need to drop everything and I need to go to Ukraine and fight. Or I don't know what else I could be doing there, but I wanted to be there with my family. I wanted to be a part of what they were going through, because when you're experience it on the distance, you take everything like emotionally. They were running on adrenaline there, and we were just sitting there watching the news and feeling helpless. And then I was talking to my brother, and he said that he believed that God has each and one of us at the place where we need to be. And it's something that helped me to go through that. I hold on to that word. And I asked God, what can I do? I'm not there. I cannot go to the villages and distribute food. What can I do in the United States? And I understood that one thing that I had was my voice. And I promised God that I'll use it. Whatever it takes, I'll use it, even if it's outside of my comfort zone, even if I don't feel comfortable doing it. And guess what? I remember next day waking up with COVID. And I did not have voice. I could not even speak. And I'm like, wow, as soon as I tell God I'm gonna use my voice, I lose my voice. But God healed me, and I'm thankful that because of connections that I was able to make in the United States, I felt like God used every single one in my life to help Ukraine. So people that I like babysit kids off reached out to me. They said, we learned about the war in Ukraine. What can we do? And there were so many stories like that. And we were able to send a lot of humanitarian aid, but because of people. And the most incredible thing is people that some of them I never even met. And they just wanted to help. So one thing, you can just sit and watch and feel bad, but also you can find ways to help, and that's what a lot of people did. They wanted to be a part of helping Ukrainians.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. Yeah, I follow you on Facebook, on your posts. Yeah, some of them very emotional, and I feel that that's okay. We should express actually our emotions, how we feel. At the same time, I heard in this trip that you came from United States to Poland, then you visited Lviv. Mm-hmm. I think you had a very large baggage, yeah? How many kilograms did you bring from United States?
Well, mine wasn't as much comparing to my husband. He was the first one who flew to Ukraine, and he had 46 checked bags.
46 checked bags. Each one of those are at least 20 kg.
Yes.
It means around 900 kg.
Well, we made them overweight.
Yeah, overweight. It's more than 100. It's close to 100,000 kg, okay?
Yeah, but there came the time, and I think that was the right time for me to come and spend the time with my family. I brought 500 more pounds of supplies, and while we were in Ukraine, we visited a few refugee centers.
You brought 500 more pounds?
Yes, sir.
Yes, and what were there in these?
So at first, when the war started, we were sending like survival kits or water purifiers. We didn't know what the situation was going to be like. And now we're trying to help. With each day, we learn a new need. So right now, it's refugees. Like my mom mentioned, there's 5,000 new people that came to my hometown, and they need everything from clothes to shoes to backpacks. So we just provided some supplies for them, and also for children.
Hometown, you mean Zolty Vody in Ukraine? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but also my friend has 3 boys, and she said, you know, when kids go through like hard times, they need something to hold. And we just went and bought a bunch of toys and coloring books. I know it's not emergency, it's not like survival item, but we just want to take care of children too and do what we can. We're just so blessed that for 25 years we were able to be a part of your ministry and work together.
Thank you. Thank you all for watching this episode with our ministry partners from Ukraine. Natalia Chernomor, her husband Nikolai couldn't come, and also her son Andrei couldn't come. But we are thankful for you and Yulia, and we thank God for them. And in the end, I would say, Slava Bogu and Bog Blagodarit Ukraine.
Yes.
Слава Богу!
Square One World Media is an international team with a vision of spreading the life-changing message of Jesus Christ through media. We encourage, equip, and empower passionate Christian storytellers to share the gospel message. We spread the gospel using television, radio, podcasts, social media, and print publications. Since our first English radio program aired in 1947, we have continued to expand and now produce Christian media in a variety of formats, genres, and languages. Want to know how you can help? Go to squareoneworldmedia.com, see the projects that we're working on, and how you can get involved.